Hi, I'm Steve Pond. We're here at TheWrap studio at the Toronto Film Festival, and I'm with Alexis Bloom, the director of Divide and Conquer, the Story of Roger Ailes. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
Terrific film. I saw it last night. I wasn't sure that I would want to spend a couple hours with Roger Ailes, but you had to spend a couple years with Roger Ailes, right?
He's a fascinating human being. I think we fall into the trap of kind of making these people monsters, and that's always kind of a very divisive thing. He was very divisive, but this idea of like the other, or he was, unmitigatedly terrible. He's human. He was a hemophiliac. He, grew up in the school of hard knocks. He had talent. People say he was funny. There are moments of levity. But I think it's important to kind of go into these things realizing that, these people are responsible for a lot of bad things, but actually, they're human, they're us, they're Americans, and they're part of our lives. So I didn't mind. We had a good time making the film, and I found it fascinating.
So, was the sexual harassment story a major part when you first started working on this?
It wasn't. It was always a part. It was not the only part. It seemed to be a logical part. Somebody who had spent their life kind of propagating a sort of abuse and operating in kind of an atmosphere of anger and divisiveness and kind of high emotion publicly. I think with the content on Fox, was doing that in his private life. So it seemed kind of a logical part of the story. It wasn't, the Me Too movement hadn't started, Harvey Weinstein hadn't started, Roger Ailes was one of the first who was deposed, and at that time, there just wasn't the same talk about it. We always knew it was a part, and it was, for me, what he does in public and what he does with his work, he does in his private life. So, it was an important part of the story, but the longer legacy, I think, is the sort of political divisiveness that he has kind of inaugurated and celebrated and monetized in a way, that nobody else has.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like you could do, if the sexual harassment stuff that brought him down never existed, he's still a fascinating story who would probably be worthy of a movie. Also, the fall of Roger Ailes is a fascinating story in itself. I mean, was it hard to figure out how to fit those two together?
There's always a calibration. You don't want to be a sexual harassment. We didn't want to be a sexual harassment film. So there's a dialing up and a dialing down. There were many, many more stories that we could have included, and we could go much further with that stuff, and we decided not to. So it was definitely a calibration. I think you get the picture that he was, abusive towards women, back from the 60s, from the Mike Douglas days, and that's, you don't want the audience just to be focusing on that. So there's a calibration.